Hello again and welcome back to some climbing news. Got kind of sidetracked a little last week. Apologies for not uploading, but hey, now you get more news with today's show. So in a roundabout sort of way, you're welcome. I guess. I think. I don't really know. Probably not. But anyways, yeah, man. It's just enough dilly-dallying and start the show. And starting us off today with some pretty horrible news out of Yosemite, we're going to talk about the death of Baylin Miller. If you don't know who Baylin Miller was, and I really hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he was a 23-year-old climber who had just started really making a name for himself with some incredible solo ascents of mountains in Alaska, Patagonia, and the Canadian Rockies. Particularly impressive, his solo of Denali's Slovak Direct, which he did alone in 3 days, and for which he free soloed every single pitch except for one, which is just wildly impressive. But unfortunately, Baylin Miller died on October 1st, shortly after finishing the El Cap raid route, Sea of Dreams. It seems he was descending to try and free a haul bag that had gotten stuck in the rocks below and accidentally rappelled off the end of his rope. The whole thing was also accidentally captured on a third-party live stream that was being watched by some 500 or so people, many of whom referred to Baylin as Orange Tent Guy, and who were cheering him on as he climbed throughout the week. I'm going to link to the TikTok account in question down below. The owner, Eric, has made a video explaining what happened and what he did. Highly encourage you check that out, as it seems there are a lot of news sources out there that are kind of saying some misleading and contradictory things. And to anyone who may be watching this who also happened to be watching the live stream too, witnessing something like that can be absolutely traumatic. So just make sure to take care of yourself. Take a few days if you need. Talk to someone, yeah, all that good stuff. And then as far as Baylin and his friends and family, I am so sorry that you're going through this. It is an absolutely horrible thing to have happen. I found that Baylin's mother actually has been using her family's climbing photos to create hoodies, t-shirts, all kinds of really cool stuff for a while. If you want to check them out, the brand is called VIRR Outdoors or Veer Outdoors, I'm not sure. Putting a link down there if you want to help support them. And also actually a couple of articles too. One that offers up a theory for what happened and which was written by Andy Kirkpatrick, who is one of the only people out there who also soloed Sea of Dreams, the route that Baylin Miller died on. And the other, a Mountain Project forum post that talks about human error and how overwhelmingly more likely it is to happen when you're exhausted, pissed off, feeling like you want to go home, etc. Really recommend you check both of those things out. And then kind of wanting to switch gears a little bit here to what very much could have been another horrible tragedy, but thankfully was not. Magnus Midtbo has come under fire for his solo ascent of the Matterhorn. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Just a quick look through some of the comments on the video shows you that a lot of very experienced mountaineers and alpinists were absolutely horrified at what they watched. And look, I'm not going to give him shit for what he did. Ultimately, I do believe that doing these sorts of things is up to the person doing them, and I don't believe in judging people for doing risky things simply because they are inherently risky. I mean, we're all climbers after all, right? What I will say is that this was very clearly an objectively dangerous and stupid thing to do. It very clearly could have gone fucking horribly. Like, if you are the kind of person that wants to one day get into alpinism and are very much the kind of person that values your ability to get back to camp while still being the owner of a beating fucking heart, watch this video as a lesson about what not to do. I think like a quick scroll through the comments will easily tell you that Magnus got incredibly lucky. And honestly, man, I hope he's feeling very proud of his ascent, but also really internalizing the fact that he very much almost killed himself. And will, like, you know, at the very least hire a guide the next time he wants to do something like this, or, you know, learn how to use crampons and an ice axe before he tackles one of the most dangerous mountains in Europe. Thankfully, seems to be the case given what he says at the end of the video, which makes a lot of the comments on the other side of the coin that are defending him extremely concerning. Because when something like this happens and someone with zero experience just kind of sort of lucks their way to success, one of two things will happen. One, that person realizes how lucky they got, takes the humble route, and decides to prepare better next time. Thankfully, that seems to be the case given what Magnus says at the end of the video, like I said. Or two, that person doesn't realize how lucky they got, think they're invincible, and continue doing what they're doing until their luck runs out eventually. which if you're inexperienced and fucking around with nature, well, you find out very, very quickly. And a lot of the comments are that. So many people are replying to experienced mountaineers, raising safety concerns with, yeah, well, but he did it, which is just so freaking idiotic and hubristic. Like, yeah, he did it, but he slipped at least twice, nearly got thrown off the mountain by another dude, got lucky someone saw him go off route and didn't get lost, rope got snagged in various spots, which could have thrown him off, was walking around a slippery ass hill with a freaking selfie stick, summit fevering like crazy with altitude and fatigue affecting his decision making. Yeah, this dude got insanely lucky. And with that said, yeah, there's also one small part that I will admit I'm kind of gonna judge him for here, which is the fact that he, you know, if he'd needed a rescue, he may have put other people in danger. And that's just never cool. So to Magnus, an actually very sincere congratulations on the summit, but don't do that again. YouTube content is not worth your life, man. Look at me, I'm sitting behind a fucking desk while I'm talking about this. And to all of you guys, let me know your opinions, comments, all that stuff. Tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm stupid for thinking the way I do. Let me know. And then let's talk about Leo Boe, who, man, I really hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think I am. Anyone out there who's Norwegian who can tell me what's what, please? I feel like this dude's gonna be in the news a lot, and he's got a weird accent I've never really used. You don't see that in Spanish or in English. Anyways, Leo just became the 12th person to ever send a 9B plus 515C route with his Send of Change, which unsurprisingly took him a hell of a lot of time. Now, if you don't know, Change was sent by Adamandra back in 2012. He did it at a time when knee pads were not a thing, and the route has been subsequently repeated by Stefano Ghisolfi, Seb One, Alex Megos, Jorge Diaz Rullo, and now Leo, making it officially the most repeated 9B plus ahead of Alex Megos' bibliography, which is kind of interesting. Andra gave it 9B plus back then, and he did it knee pad less and had some crazy ass beta. I can't help but wonder what he'd think if he went back and tried it now. Apparently the Crux is something like 2 or even 3 grades easier, but somehow the grade has stayed the same. So, I mean, whatever the hell Andra did is wild. But then again, you know, he's known for being able to put himself in the most ridiculously gross looking positions that would otherwise just absolutely break most people. Like, I know the whole Gumby thing is a negative in the climbing world, but at the same time, like, Andra really is exactly like Gumby. He bends all over the place. He's Gumby Prime, the one true Gumby we all aspire to be, but will never reach. But yeah, massive congrats to Leo Boe for his insane send. Huge ups for doing that route, and even more insane is the fact that before he repeated Change, this guy, he'd only ever sent 2 9A plus routes, 515A, the 16 9As. You know, it's legitimately skipped an entire grade, which is just absolutely insane. Massive congratulations. Next, let's talk about Jorge Diaz Rullo, who in just a couple of days sent Secaina in 9A in La Pedriza. It's also 514D, yeah, which is an old Beto Rocasolano route, which pretty much just has a very singular and pronounced crux that involves the unholiest of monos and some straight up sinful feet that you gotta pull through. And I have no idea why I went with religious descriptors there, but it is what it is, I suppose. What I really want to talk about, though, is the sit start project to El Cobrador del Flash, which is an AP plus V14 boulder problem that Jorge was able to send in just 3 goes. And I have some thoughts about the sit, because it's one of those projects that I don't think a lot of people outside of Spain, hell, even outside of Madrid, have ever really heard of. For anyone that doesn't know, that's where I'm from, and this particular problem is in a place called Alcolea del Pinar, in kind of a secret spot, which is, I think I'm gonna probably make a separate video about secret spots at some point. But the point is that for a really, really, really long time, this particular sit start has mostly just been referred to as El Proyecto de Nacho, which is, you know, pretty obviously translates to Nacho's project, in this case referring to Nacho Sanchez, who's kind of given it some goes every so often over the years, and who has consistently said that he thinks it's much, much harder than anything he's ever done. For context, he's bouldered up to 8C plus V16. And then here's Jorge kind of confirming what everyone I've ever talked to about this project has said, which is, yeah, it's probably hard as shit. And the thing that makes this particularly interesting to me is the fact that a project like this, that not very many people have ever heard of, it kind of confirms that the existence of other incredibly hard boulder problems within that same range. What I'm trying to get at is that right now there are over 150 8C V15 boulder problems out there. There are 68 8C plus V16s. There are 13 9As and only a handful of super famous projects that have yet to be done, right? A couple of Barefoot Charles' crazy lines, Imote Pasis, the Sisu project, but I digress. Look, if the exponentiality that I'm seeing for the number of boulder problems at each grade is to be believed, then theoretically, at some point in the future, when there are 10 or so 9B V19 proposals, logically it follows that there will likely be over 150 9A V17s out there. And I don't know where the fuck we're gonna get them from, but more seriously, yeah, for such a long time, that idea has always just been completely ludicrous to me. Like 150 boulder problems that hard, where are they? And then one of them just so happens to be literally next to a climb that shut me the hell down for months. It's just evidence that the hardest problems in the world are exactly all over the damn place. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just too much of a climbing geek, but that seems incredibly cool to me. And yeah, I just used Jorge as an excuse to talk about this because it gets me psyched to think about all the hard projects we haven't done. Like, what's the next Mount Doom gonna look like? Or is there gonna be something that's even fucking harder and cooler than the finish line that just hasn't been discovered yet? I don't know. Honestly, the next big, super crazy hard project might be at your home crag or above some mountain that no one's climbed before, or like people have been hiking next to for years. You might even walk by it a million times at this point. It's just that everyone, so far has lacked the vision needed to see something climbable. Like, that's a pretty cool idea, right? But anyways, I'm gonna pass the question on to you. Rant over, okay? Tell me what you guys think. Also, Jorge uploaded a video of himself working the same boulders. If you want to check that out, links in the description. We are moving on. Okay, I'm sticking to my Spaniards for now, fellow countrymen, in this case, countrywoman, as we move on to talk about Ainhize Belar, who has just done Arroputza. And look, I may be Spanish, and actually my last name is Basque, but I don't know Basque, and I don't think anyone in the rest of Spain really understands what the hell is going on up there, or even how to pronounce a root name like Arroputza. I think I'm saying it right, but I mean, what the hell? It's a cool language. Fun fact, one of the only pre-Roman languages in Europe, and also actually a language isolate, which means that it has no relationship with any other known language in the world. Which is, kind of cool. Not the point, but kind of cool. The point is, Ainhize has just sent Arroputza, and Arroputza is a 9A 514D route, which means she's firmly cemented as one of the strongest women climbers of all time. Lest we forget, this is her third 9A, and she's actually also already sent 9A plus 515A. Inni Ameriketan, which I wish I knew what that name meant, and I have no idea. It's more Basque, more Euskera, but yeah, dude, Ainhize is one of only 14 women in the history of climbing to have ever sent 9A plus, so if she's not on your short list for strongest climbers out there, bad. Update that shit. Like, what are you even doing? But yeah, links to her social and all the goodies down in the description. As always, let's move on to Austin Purdy finally sending Distortion 8C plus V16, which, if that sounds familiar, it's the left exit of Insomniac 8C plus V16, which were both FA'd by Drew Ruana. Just so happens Insomniac's been done 9 times, whereas Distortion's only been done twice. And, well, you know how sometimes you do a boulder and that boulder has 2 exits and you think, well, I've done one of them, so the second one should happen any moment now. You know that feeling? Or maybe you know the feeling of having a project so completely dialed that you're sure you're gonna do it next go, and then you keep not doing it next go until suddenly it's been years and you're still in the same exact spot you were before. You know that feeling? Or I guess if you're a gym climber, maybe it's the project you're about to do and keep being about to do until the setters come in and take it away, so that now you're stuck questioning your sense of purpose and worth in this incredibly meaningless hobby that used to bring you so much joy but has now just evolved into this incessant little twinge in your neck that you just can't quite figure out what the cause is, or what little movement just makes it go into spasms at random movements during the day. Do you know that feeling? Yeah, that was Austin Purdy's life for like 2 years. Climbing is so fun. Why do we do this to ourselves? Seriously. But yeah, dude, Austin Purdy sent, and he's so happy about it, he didn't even post on the gram. I only found out about it because he quietly logged it on his 8ANU profile. And yeah, I'm watching. I'm always watching. I'm like Roz from Monsters Inc. and all the other pro climbers sitting on big news. File your goddamn paperwork, okay? Can't do the show if you don't talk about your shit. Congratulations to Austin, blah, 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 2 year siege, blah, blah, very impressive, so on and so forth. You've heard it all before, blah, blah, blah. All right, next, Noah Wheeler sent Pegasus 8C. He's getting better at the whole skin maintenance thing. Apparently he only bled like a little bit from his tips. That's all she wrote on that one. It's a cool boulder. Check out the Drew Rana FA. Lots of Drew Rana FAs in this episode. Yeah. Next, Simone Tentori gets another repeat of Monkey Wedding. I've lost count at this point. I don't care. It's too many for a season. Way too goddamn many repeats. Are there not like 10,000 other boulder problems in Rocklands? God damn it. Why are people making me waste my time talking about this boulder again? Congratulations. Big Island's been sent 37 times. If you're curious now about what the most repeated 8C V15 in the world is, second is Dreamtime, then Monkey Wedding. Cool. Cool. And then Arthur Ternant, who is he's one of those two. I don't. They're twins, man. Like whatever. They share an Instagram account too, which is just like, it's not helpful. One of these two just got the FA of Titanasis and proposed 8C. Honestly, it's a pretty sick boulder. I wonder how long it'll take to get a repeat. Psych! Guess who already did that? I hate him. Why is this dude fucking everywhere? Like, yeah, he was my nemesis, but at this point I'm just getting tired of talking about him. Fucker's been in at least every other episode of this stupid show for the last, I don't know how long, at least 3 months, I think. Good for him. Good for Arthur Ternant for his FA. Nice of Jules not to downgrade it. He did God soft though. It took 2 sessions. Dick. And then we got 2 old dudes at the absolute freaking top of their game. Iris Matamors, who at the age of 45 just sent Ali Hulk Extension, which is a 9A plus 515A, except he's actually downgraded it to 9A. This might be the oldest downgrade of a 9A plus, most definitely. Badass. Also, great to know there's a slim chance it could be climbing that hard at 45 years old. Gets me psyched. And actually even 5 years older than that, as Matteo Gambaro, who is 50, also sent Prima Classe, which is 9A. So a 50-year-olds, they're now all sending harder stuff than something like 90% of people out there will probably ever climb. Honestly, this makes me so happy. Like, you hear about so many sports where you think, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep this up until I'm old as hell, and yet here we are. Like, I personally know a few old dudes that are in their 70s and 80s who are still bouldering freaking 7A V6. Like, it's a chill walk in the park. It's sick to think that we can all keep doing that. This thing that we love for that long. And more climbing news out of Norway, and a question for all of you. Adam Andra Will Bosie's Kryptonite, because Will Bosi just did a Q&A where he talks about the crux of silence and says that he thinks it's harder than 8C V15 and more like 8C plus V16. I mean, just flashbacks of Terra Nova, right? With Will saying it's harder than 8C plus and Adam absolutely doubling down saying it's not. So Will Bosi, god damn it, Will Bosi ever managed to send one of Adam's weird ass movement based shenanigans, or will he not? That was a pain. Fuck, I couldn't even, because like I said before, Andra's the Gumby Prime. Like, there is no one on earth who can move like him, stretch like him, sit in fucking weird ass positions like him, and most people who have ever tried to have come back broken in the shell of the men and women they once were. I mean, seriously, just look around. So I mean, who knows, dude? Maybe it is gonna take someone that's 10 times stronger than Adam to finally get a repeat of Silence and Terra Nova. Maybe we won't ever see that happen again, but I'm gonna have to pass the question off to you guys, because I'm curious as hell what you all think about this entire situation. Is Silence harder than Andra says it is, or are we just not Gumbies enough? Let me know. And then, in not so much climbing news, because it's not really Ascend, but more like a life update, we've got some bad stuff out of the UK, as it seems Hannah Morris has suffered a compound fracture in her leg. She hasn't really given many details about how all of this went down, other than to say that she fell while bouldering outdoors, and yeah, dude, compound fractures are horrible stuff. I've seen a few of them happen. The person usually goes completely into shock because things are sticking out, and yeah, it's gruesome stuff. But apparently Hannah has undergone 3 surgeries to repair crush injuries to her tib, fib, and ankle. She's had a rod pushed from her knee to her foot. She's got bolts, plates, staples, and bone grafts done to repair her leg. And on top of all this, the impact of her fall tore her meniscus and her ACL. That is, I mean, that is a really bad injury. I don't know what sort of fall she must have taken, but it must have been absolutely huge. So honestly, nothing more to really add to this one other than to send best wishes and to say that hopefully she both recovers well physically, but also psychologically. I don't know what sort of fall she took, but when stuff like this happens, it can really do a number on your confidence on the wall, like in general. Like, so much attention is also just devoted to the physical side of things and not the fact that a lot of people end up with some very real mental blocks after taking an injury like that. And they really need to work on it. And also to anyone that was with her when she fell, man, like that sort of stuff can absolutely be traumatic. There's no need to diminish something like that. It might not have happened to you, but it did happen to you, if you know what I mean. So yeah, all the best to Hannah Morris, hoping for as speedy of a recovery as possible. And finally, yeah, if you guys were thinking of canceling your Netflix subscription, think again, because Alex Honnold is about to blow your mind as he free solos Taipei 101 in 2026. Personally, I'm not going to watch. Why would I want to watch that? I've got 3 reasons to give you for why I wouldn't. First, you think Netflix is going to be cool with Honnold not feeling it on their big day if he decides to pull for whatever reason? Of course not. Netflix is not Jimmy Chin shooting a documentary where he has time, has an actual relationship with his friend, doesn't have a bunch of money and shit, riding on Honnold doing something he doesn't feel good about. And that's the thing. You never know what might be going through Honnold's head on the day of. Would he be allowed to step away if he ever, was kind of over it? Just a small hunch says, fuck no, he won't be. Secondly, watching Free Solo was bad enough knowing the guy was alive and had already done it. I'm not gonna go through that again, but in a live show where I might accidentally watch this dude slip and fall. Fuck that. Do I think that there's a chance he will? Probably not. Yeah, I don't know what grade that building would get. I'm sure it's probably not harder than Freerider, so chances are very low, but still, dude, no thank you. And third, it's a building. The fuck do I care about a building? Yeah, it's tall. Yeah, it's kind of overhung. Yeah, architecturally speaking, it's pretty cool, but really, I'm gonna watch 2 hours of this dude pulling the same 3 moves over and 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 over, and you get the idea. That's why he's gotta solo it. Because if he was roped up, nobody would give a fuck. Because it's gonna be interesting for the first 3 seconds he reaches a new section and boring and repetitive the rest of the way up. People are gonna eat this shit up, aren't they? Everyone's gonna watch it. I'm gonna have to talk about it again. Okay, whatever. Okay, fine. What do you guys think? I personally think, it's kind of lame, though it's true. Alex has been wanting to climb this building since like 2013, so for sure, he's just happy to get to climb it and probably doesn't really care that Netflix is gonna live stream it. Anyways, a question goes off to you guys. Thoughts? Let me know. But hey, that was some climbing news. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to do the whole YouTube thing. Give a like, subscribe, comment with questions, ideas, thoughts, opinions, all that good stuff. I will see you guys on Friday, hopefully, unless I get sidetracked again, which I promise will not happen, but you never really know. But until then, of course, and as always, go climb some stuff.